Well, we will go ahead and get started. We'll kind of go through this fairly quickly, which, Mary, that might make your editing better. Easier to share because we won't have to cut out so much. So today we just wanted to share just some ways to give your presentations some panache. I love that word. And some ways to really think about when you're putting the content together and some resources to maybe do that. So we have discovered some new tools that we just wanted to share. So go ahead and share a couple things in the chat. What makes slides really good and what makes a slide really bad? So we've all seen evidence of like terrible slides, and we've seen evidence of really great slides. So let's just go ahead and share a couple things in the chat for good and for bad. Let's focus on how to make them good, and obviously the alternative is bad. So too much text, obviously, like if you're watching slide after slide after slide after slide of text, too much text. What do you guys think is the right amount of text for a slide?
Isn't the common wisdom like no more than 5 points, 5 bullet points, something like that of content on the slide is supposed to be the max?
Yeah, because in our DMP, they say 6 by 6.
I think when you look at old guidelines, it used to be 7 by 7, and then it was 6 by 6, and now I think it's going like 5 by 5. Like at one point in time, when I first started teaching, it was 7 bullets per slide and 7 words per bullet. And then I think it was 6, and now I think it's, 5. So, and also writing it out as a script, I think some people do that. And for students, what's the benefit of being there in person if I can just read all the content, if it's basically going to be there? Hi, Mary. Good to see you. We're just talking about what makes slides good and what makes them bad in presentations. Like we've all seen things, and we just started with text, and we said too much text or it makes them bad. So like what are the right amounts? What else makes them not good? Or have you seen that could be improved on?
Too busy, too much on it, regardless of whether it's text or images or graphs or charts.
Yeah, where you don't know where to look.
Right.
Too much visual content on there, absolutely, with images. And I think too, colors have a lot to do with it, like too much in color with a variety of colors and fonts and sizes. Okay, let's move on and take a peek.
So we were working on this yesterday afternoon, and here was some of my pet peeves. My personal pet peeves is way too much text on the page, and people using different sizes and different fonts and the formatting being off. But my daughter happened to be home, and she is a student. And so we just asked her, hey, Caroline, what do your instructors do that makes you crazy when you're looking at their PowerPoints? And she said, tell them not to use all those animations. So we put some of that in here. She said, and when the text is hanging on, so right here you can see this should be framed all against the black, and off on the right it's sort of off into this colored margin, which then makes these hard to read. So those are some of my pet peeves: is all text, too much text, different sizes, different fonts. It just gets to be too much. And I think you guys were just saying too much information.
Students don't know where do I even focus, or where do I begin, or what, where do I dive in? What's the point of all this? Especially if the instructor's reading the content to them. It's like, what is the point? Just give me the textbook.
Right. But this is kind of the opposite. If you're going, I like pictures, so let's put visuals on here. And I just found Pixabay, so this is so cool. Except you can have too much of a good thing there too. More is not always preferred to less. And again, my daughter walked by as we're putting them in. She goes, oh, make that on that yellow block that you have, make the font green. My Latin teacher in junior high made green font on yellow all the time, and you can't read it. So you can see here, it's not a ton of text, or maybe you can't see here, but there actually is text in this yellow box up here. And then she also made me move the graphic in front of the text. So apparently she's seen that too, where people put their text content in and then they want to make it fun, but they're not paying attention to what it's doing to the text content.
And I think too, images with a purpose, knowing, is there a difference? Like, I think it's okay. This one, I don't have a lot of, it's something real specific. Maybe it's a decorative image, but hopefully not all the images are just decorative. Like there's a purpose for that, having it there. It's something to trigger memory with it. So if a student thinks back about that concept, they think of that image, or it helps bring it home, or Carrie, I just think, for example, like some of the slides that you've seen, when you're talking, about temperature, and you're doing a Peeves unit and you see a little girl there taking her temperature and she's not feeling good, like it just resonates because it puts you in the moment of being with a little one who isn't feeling good. Like it helps the context of how to take a temperature being, well, wait, there's a real person here and it's somebody's little girl and they're really not feeling well. So I think that image should help bring like that mood if you can, but when you look at your content and say, oh, it's pretty much all just decorative, for some students who get a lot of their information visually, that decorative could actually be a distractor. If there's too much like this, it's like, what is this about and what am I supposed to look at?
I'll remember Marvin the Martian and that's it. We wanted people to be careful with color contrasts because, again, you may be putting the best, most valuable content on the slides, and if they can't read it, it doesn't do anybody any good. And this isn't a problem just for students. I mean, you're going to have students who have color blindness issues. You're going to have students who have visual impairments where the contrast is really important. But something like this, like the purple lettering against this crazy colored background, is going to be hard for anybody to read. So we tried taking that same content and making a cleaner slide. So here the content is the focus. We did put in a picture of Mercury, and I did 2 slides actually because for some reason with this particular template, I love this font, but I thought it might be hard for students to read. So maybe an alternative would be this one. Mm-hmm. So trying to keep them cleaner, trying to have less text, trying to make sure that it's really visible for the students.
And the other thing too is there's no absolute right or wrong way. Like Mary can design something and I'll design something and they look completely different. A lot of it has to do with your flair and your personality, and none of that has to be lost in so many rules or designs. So some people lean towards different fonts. Sometimes they'll say that if it's in all caps, it does become more difficult for students to read, especially if there is a lot of content. But there's not a guided rule for absolutely everything. That some is just designer's choice as well. You can see great things and people will design things differently. So we want you to have an opportunity to do that in just a little bit. And we don't want you to feel like anybody's judging. There is no right or wrong way. Mary will take my slides and say, did you purposefully mean to have this look like this? And I'm like, oh, yeah, or yes, so it also is a matter of style sometimes as well. It's what people like and what you're teaching, what goes along with it.
This was also from Caroline. She said, tell them being all the faculty, not to take outdated 2006 memes where the proportion of our screens used to be narrower and try to fit it to your now wider slides. So she said a lot of her instructors will do this. They take some old meme, which irritates our current students, and they distort it to try to make it fit, which also apparently irritates our students.
Stretch that picture to make it fit.
That's right.
So we want you to be able to go to this website to be able to access this slide deck right here. So if you want to open a new window and go to bit.ly/LOL-slide activity, and then you'll keep the slide deck open in a separate tab. But the next slide that we go to after you've had a chance to log in and get to the next slide has some direct links to 3 really good resources. The templates actually in Google Slides is pretty limited. You don't get a lot of choice there. They're pretty generic slide templates. Well, we want to share with you 3 really great resources that are, number 1, free. Number 2, they're available in PowerPoint for download or Google Slides. We tend to use Google Slides because they play with Canvas so much better. But once you get there and get to this slide, let us know. Were you both able to get to this deck?
It is case sensitive. So if you go to bit.ly/LOL- and then slide activity is all one word and all lowercase. So here's Jen's 3 resources.
Okay, Slides Mania, Slides Go, and Slides Carnival are all absolutely wonderful, and they have a huge variety of templates to pick from. Some they've even got set up as Slides Mania has some interactive slides that you can use. But what we wanted to do is give you 5 minutes to pick one and just check out some of the different templates. I mean, I think Mary and I got lost on here. You could spend an hour kind of going through and looking at some of the different templates. But when you find one that you like, just pick one And it doesn't have to be perfect or anything, but pick one. And then it will give you the option to download, and you either download it as a PowerPoint or as a slide. We're going to ask that you download one as a slide, and then just right click on one of the slides that you like in that whole deck of slides, and then add it after this slide. So basically you're going to go and explore, download one template that you like, and then go through that template. There's a whole bunch of variety in that template, and pick one slide out of that template that you want to play with a little bit, because we're going to play with it and practice doing some things with it. So one slide out of that you want to add, and then you'll just add it directly after this slide. Okay, so we will give you 5 minutes, and when we process the video, we'll just cut this 5 minutes out. So take some time to explore. I'm actually going to go on one. There was one I wanted to look up as well and explore.
And you know what? I'm going to stop sharing for the moment.
Yeah.
All right. And because I stopped presenting, Jen, it stopped the timer. So I'm just keeping an eye on the clock and doing 3 more minutes.
Okay. That sounds good.
So I have a question. Do you want us just to select a template, or do you actually want, or actually select a slide from the template as well?
So you are going to download one entire template,
Right.
and then pick a slide that you like and add it to our slide deck that we are presenting from.
Okay.
And I wanted to make sure I got out of present mode, because what I've noticed is that once I go in present mode when I'm doing Google Slides and I'm WebEx and I go into present mode, is that it doesn't detect any changes that were made. So I wouldn't see your slides that you're inserting if I didn't get out and get back in.
Okay, that's interesting. That's good to know.
So once I see you guys get your slides in here, then I will start presenting again.
Yeah, and out of that whole deck, you just need to pick one. So I will throw one in there too.
Do you want me to put it at the end?
Right after the slide that we were just on, is that where you want?
Okay.
After slide 11. The one that you picked actually has built-in animations. I'm not sure what they do, but I see the little animations icon.
Oh, is that what that means?
Yes. I
don't know.
So when I present, we'll find out what it does, because it'll go through the animations when I go back into presentation mode.
I just picked it because it's like, I like the design of
Yes.
it, and it's got a big pow of an image and then just like big concepts.
Right. And I think that's, it's got the images, but it's keeping it simple. It, even though it has text and image, it's clean.
Right.
All right. Well, I'm going to go back into.
I am liking that thing. Whoops, turn myself off.
Aren't they nice, those templates?
I like that Slide Carnival
Yeah.
site. The others, for me, were just like a little too busy and or conventional looking.
Uh-huh.
And some of them too, when you look at the slides that they have, there's a great amount of slides, but there's even more sometimes layered behind those templates. So that's the interesting thing, is I've picked a couple off Slides Mania where I'm like, ooh, only 2 out of these 30 slides are something that I would work with. But then when you go to the add a new slide in the Google Slides, there's other templates layered behind there that are, for me, less busy, with less content on there too. So sometimes even the 30 slides you have, there's more than that.
Do you want to take a look at the one that you put in, Jen?
Sure.
This one is yours, right?
Yeah, I threw this one in, and this is actually from this deck. I really liked it because it seemed, if you were even doing like a timeline sequence, I think the year is crystal clear there if you could keep the facts below. So I just thought that was a really good visual if you were using a timeline. The other thing I thought is you could do a picture in child development. My students do their own timeline. If they wanted to put a picture, every couple of years of themselves in that timeline and like write a little brief something below if they were focusing on physical development or whatever. So I just thought that was a neat kind of image. It was visually clear, nice balance if you had a lot of images that you wanted to include or dates that you wanted to include. So it's just one that I liked.
See, my brain goes to, hey, we could have summarized our workshop series that we've done so far like this.
Yes,
putting
exactly.
with the LOL and the brief description below it. So what did you like about this one particularly?
Again, I just like the clean look, and I like it for big concept. And for me, it kind of helps keep me on task for what I'm presenting and the order in which I'm presenting. In addition to just this particular template, it was all just like really clean, and it laid out the sequence of information that I want, or the activity that I want my students to do.
I would think that this would be cool too if you're saying this is the big concept. So this is basically like a section header. So your content's being partitioned makes it easier when you're in slides and you're looking at the series of slides on the left-hand side. Then you'd be able to see the ones with the big green image with the planet. Oh yeah, that was my header for that particular set of material.
That is also a best practice, that anytime you are doing a lot of content sharing, that you chunk it up and you have what they call kind of like a pause slide or a big concept slide or a time to stop and read. So it is just not slide after slide after slide after slide after slide of heavy duty content. It's a way for reorganizing too. And if you put that in there, that lets you as the presenter remember, okay, kind of take a break, see if there's any questions, feedback, summation, whatever you do, and then you can go ahead. So they recommend even doing these breather slides or break slides, or where you kind of pull everybody back with limited content on it as you chunk up material, because it helps us. Once we're in it, we just get going, and it's that reminder for us to chunk it up too. And I thought, ooh, I needed that reminder, because I sometimes just keep going. And then I think we can skip this task, don't you, Mary?
Yeah, if we had more people in today, we thought it would be fun to assign everybody the identical task, and it's something that it's not discipline specific. So we were going to have each of you make a slide with the slide from the template that you chose, giving directions from Pecos campus to your favorite restaurant. So it could be like icebreaker on the first day. You could do this with your students, and it's getting them used to using the slides and letting them have a little bit of fun with it. Oh, this is your review from Basecamp, right?
Yes, just to remember to be intentional with images, and there's those great resources that are copyright free. Pixabay has lots of real world images, and they've also got a lot of photo drawings. Flickr is great. The Noun Project has a lot of great icons. And then we were wondering too, with Films on Demand is such a great film resource, and films are so easy to embed right in Canvas. Is there a good resource page for faculty on how to use Films on Demand, or they're pretty like?
I wasn't sure because the website changed, so I didn't know if you guys still had the instructions page to walk people through it.
Yeah, I revised it kind of last spring when we went through the whole remote online learning. So I'll take a look at it again, but as of April or May, that guide's been updated. Yeah, that's the glorious thing about both Films on Demand and Alexander Street Press. Copyright compliance and public performance rights are included for face-to-face and online. And they make it so easy to embed the content. But thank you, Mary, for asking. I'll double check. I've not come back to it now this fall.
And if you can send us the link, then
Yeah.
we'll put it in this slide. And then when I share all the information after I've edited the video, so it's going to be a couple of days, everybody will get a copy of this slide, anybody who downloads these. Well, I'm glad you're here anyway, but I'm extra glad you're here because we were just talking about that before we started. So intentional with images, intentional with font, Jan?
Intentional with font. And one of Mary's Tech Tuesdays, she shared Cool Text as a great graphics generator, and you simply type in the text and they generate a little image of it. So real purposeful, like she found the Fahrenheit with the fire. I thought that was really great, or with the Harry Potter image, or with group. But you want to be careful to not overuse it because it can also be like an image.
Right.
And I was looking up, you asked about questions or recommendations for font and color for diverse learning abilities, color blindness, and ADD. ADA has some accessibility checkers, or some where you can plug font in and they'll give you some feedback. But the normal size text, 14, must have a contrast ratio of at least 4.5 to 1. So you can plug stuff in and it will tell you if it's meeting that compliance. Larger size text, 18 or 14 point bold is what, if somebody asks for larger size text, that's typically what it is 18 point font or 14 point font if it's bolded. And then graphics interface components require a contrast ratio of at least 3:1. So you can actually plug in some content and it will tell you what it is, and it will say, here's the hex code for one, here's the hex code for the other. Bump that contrast by, it'll tell you what the ratio is. So I will add that website. It's the ADAsitecompliance.com color contrast checker. I'll add this into the slide, and you have access to the slide after we're done, so you will be able to see that as well. But it's where you can go in and just plug in to make sure that it's okay, and it gives the guidelines for text and for font, and it comes straight from ADA. One of the things that I've seen change with them recently is they've added more interactive slides. That's been a really big thing, and games and activities and templates for things like breakout rooms and those kinds of things too. So in addition to just the slides, they've got a lot of different purposes for slides in addition to just adding your content. And most of them at the very end, like this one, has editable icons. Some of them come with 2 or 3 or even 4 pages of icons that you can use for the text. So that's kind of always a nice bonus feature. And then last but not least, they always put their credits at the end, and just being good stewards of their resources, you know, and it puts more people into the pool and in touch with them. Keeping that last credit slide on there, saying where the presentation template at least came from and the images that they use. So it's always good to either include that as a footer on the slides or keep this last page as a credit. And then the other thing I like to do is just add to this end page anything I'm citing or any other thing I'm doing. So right along with the slide presentation, it just reminds me to add the book that I was quoting from, or the research article that I was referencing, or anything else. It's just a good reminder, but they always have a credit slide and their content's already on there. So I kind of think that's a nice little bonus at the end.
Well, and I'm going to do the quick push on our stuff, which is if you guys have questions or suggestions, or you want to see workshops, or you want to give a workshop, we always have the LOL suggestion box. So bit.ly/LOL suggestion box. It is case sensitive. And then you guys have these already today, but we'll be sharing out with everybody else the copy of today's slides that you can get for yourself is bit.ly/LOL, capital LOL, -presentation tips. And then we wanted to make sure that everybody knew Fanny Sylvester is very excited about WebEx Teams. We use WebEx Meetings, but she's been using WebEx Teams all semester and she loves it, and she is an evangelist for it. So if you want to know more about it, you can come back. And other than that, Jen, it was, if you guys have questions for us, like, are there little tricky things you saw in our slides that you would want to know how to do? Like, oh, what was one that I taught Jen? Like here, where it says credits, this was just white lettering on this green background, and I put the drop shadow on it on the Google Slides. So if there's stuff like that that you saw and you would like us to show you, we can do that.
Or even to share, what are your favorite things with Google Slides as far as creating them? Or is there anything that you do often or you want to know how to do with Google Slides? Because we can just go to Slides and share any tips or tricks. Or do you feel pretty confident? I feel like I use them all the time, and yet every time I use them, I find one more thing they can do.
I have a question because I tend to do PowerPoint.
Yes.
But you shared that Google Slides is better for Canvas. So I will be attentive to using Google Slides more, but what makes it easier? So why is Google Slides a better fit for Canvas interface or Canvas display?
The thing that I like best about it is because Google Slides is live and it's not living in version 1 or version 2 or version 3 on my desktop. When you're in Canvas, it's sitting there live in Canvas. If I change it from a computer in the library, it changes in my Canvas page. If I change it at home, so the flexibility and the ease of use, like it is constantly live. And just like you guys, if you added a slide to this slide deck, students can do that as well. And if they add it, it automatically updates in Canvas as well. So for me, rather than having to take down an old version of the PowerPoint, or I updated, or I found a typo or something like that, and I have to take it down and I have to upload a newer version, it is just so dynamic that really is the nice benefit for me. One of the things that you have to do if students are adding live or real time, so you can even be doing a presentation, and when I was in the classroom, students would create something, we'd take a picture and upload it to the slides. You have to hit refresh in Canvas, but even with that,
I can see that.
It's pretty automatic and it refreshes. So students will say, oh, we didn't quite finish. Can I get a picture of this? I'm like, let's just take a picture. You have to have the app on your phone, the Google app on your phone, and then the Slides app. And I just add the slide to the presentation, hit refresh, and it's right up there right away. So that dynamic piece is what I find is so nice about it. Any other things that you guys like about it? And the other thing is, have you ever converted PowerPoint slides to Google Slides? It is a quick process. You just add it and then you open it with Google Slides. That used to save a copy. Now there's one extra step where you go to Files, Save as Google Slides, and you still have your old version of PowerPoint right there uploaded in the cloud as well, but then you have that new version as a slide. So I just like that it's dynamic. That is the nice interface. It embeds so well.
Yeah, the allowing students to add to it part. I mean, I haven't used it really. Frankly, I had hardly ever touched Google Slides before we did Basecamp. And then I was thrown in the deep end. So I haven't used it for classes, but I can see doing it for classes and the way that they're able to add things in real time and you can see their ideas right there is very different from PowerPoint. I like Microsoft because I'm big on the visuals. So I can do more with a slide in PowerPoint than I can in Google Slides, but I'm learning how to trick it to do the things that I want. So
Google Slides also comes with a lot of add-ons as well. You know, if there's other things that you want to do, like Pear Deck is an add-on where you have the Google Slide and it just overlays over the top and it can make those Google Slides interactive. So you can ask a question real time and you can see student responses immediately and you can share those student responses. So it has a lot of things that can add on top of it. Lucid charts you can add on top if you want to do more with charts. So there's no doubt you can do more with Microsoft PowerPoint, like as far as fancy features, but Google has add-ons that can kind of enhance those features. One of the things, you can download a PowerPoint and make it a video. Now there's an add-on for slides that you can do that as well. So you can actually take a slide deck, download it, and then embed it in another slide deck. So there's features more and more, so you can do some of the things, those more advanced things that you can do in Microsoft for slides.
We tried in a class at the end of the semester last spring, students doing a recording of their presentation, or a voiceover in Google Slides.
Right.
And it was just ugly to try and make that work. And again, haven't come back to it since last spring. Is there an easier way for doing voiceovers or narrations in Google Slides?
Is there, have you thought about having them just do a little screencastify of it and then embed it on the top of the slide and then embedding that in the slide?
And that's what last semester, so just the anxiety of all of that. Yeah, screencast, it was just like one more thing that they had to learn on top of. So that's why we were kind of trying to stick with either PowerPoint or Google Slides, something that they had more ready access to versus logging in or getting another app or registering for another free app. So yeah, again, it was just, and with you, Jennifer, kind of reminding me about why Google is such a more dynamic thing for live engagement in Canvas courses. So that's why, just coming back to thinking another way.
If you use that LOL suggestion box thing to remind me that this is a topic that we could, as you were talking, I had a couple of ideas of what you could do. Because Chrome has a built-in widget that you can add where the icon is right there in the Chrome browser and does a screencast for you. I think it's Screencastify. So then if your student was in Chrome looking at their slides, they could just click the little icon, not have to go to a bunch of different places. So that's one thing. The other thing that I thought about is where I could imagine it being a headache to do a screencast is that you probably want to put it into present mode. And like with WebEx, when I put it in present mode, it takes my whole screen and I can't see anything else. I can't see my controls. But if I do it in Firefox, I find that I can adjust the size of it and make it a little smaller so that I can see other buttons and things on my screen still. So I have a couple of things I could try for you and see what we recommend, but I will have forgotten this conversation 30 seconds from now. So I need the reminder.
And I will absolutely, yeah, we can investigate it. I know that there's a new app called, it's actually called Voiceover, created for Google Slides, but I haven't played with it yet. Like I said, almost every challenge with Google Slides, they do it as an add-on. So I'm not sure if Maricopa has that as an add-on yet, but we will definitely play with it and get back to you to see like what's the easiest, most efficient way to add voice to slides. Anything else, Carrie? Do you use slides or PowerPoint or both?
I do both. Like I told you, I didn't realize I could bring my PowerPoint slide. I think I've tried it before and I couldn't get it to go into Google. So then I gave up. But I do want to bring them over to Google because I do want to use Pear Deck next semester. So I have to figure out how to do that still.
Yeah, I think you made a video, Jen, that's probably in Basecamp. You might be able to go back and grab the link and find that we could go find the link for you, Carrie. Not that we're going to make you hunt through Basecamp because we know where to find it.
Did I do a video on that?
I think so. I think because there was one day where you had a handful of little quick screencasts of things to do in Google, and I think that was one of them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We'll add that to the bottom of this deck. Good. That's two things for us to investigate or kind of look into, and we certainly can do that. Anything that, where there's challenges, Mary and I can play around with features and add-ons and see, okay, what's the easiest, most efficient way to do this and share back and forth with each other. So, anything we can do it like that. So you're not spending your time investigating. We're happy to do that. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. Like she said, we've got Fanny with us next week, and then the week after, Collie is going to come and do just a share and show with Padlet. So some great things that we can do with Padlet as well.
Yeah, somewhere down the road, Jen really, really, really wants us to do a Google Slide add-ons session. So it's, get used to using Google Slides, and then we'll show you some of the sort of super deluxe things you can do with it.
The other thing I like about it, it's so easy to add images, and it's so easy to add YouTube videos. In PowerPoint, you have to embed them. In Google, when you just go to add video, all you need is the link, and you can so easily add the link, and the video just pops in and automatically embeds. And so I think that's what's so beautiful about it. We should just do a Google Slides basics. Would you guys be interested in that, or is that okay?
We'll include how to put your PowerPoints up into
Yeah. Maybe I'll just do some like short little snippet ones, like keep them 5 minutes or less, but like little very, very basics as far as like adding images, adding videos.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.